There's a weight you cannot train to lift or become mentally stronger to bear, but one that possesses the trait of infectious demise. The weight puts an unimaginable pressure upon your brain, igniting a suffering you cannot necessarily define, but one that is a constant lull. A numbness that subsides logical judgment because your mind is slowly being crushed, so even when you inflict intentional injury, nothing feels real. You become a dull waste of space on the sideline when you used to be a boisterous ray of light that no one can stop staring at. You wished you could feel an unfiltered rawness, a genuine sliver of hope. But how can you when no one seems to notice or ask because what you are experiencing is a taboo worse than premarital sex? You created a kind of weakness in the depths of your subconsciousness because putting up a falsity of happiness was no longer enough to cover up the lack of effort you are mentally able to put into yourself. It is all in your mind. You cannot stop a fabricated monster as real as the ones you used to fear under your bed. So what to do when there is no support system or people who seem compassionate or at least educated enough to seriously consider the state of your mental health? You end it all. At least you will know the feeling of nothing is from death rather than the prolonged pain you can no longer bear. We see school administrators more than most of us see our parents. The school is a facility of education and learning, but how can the brain absorb knowledge that allegedly propels our futures if something much more deadly than teenage angst plagues the developing psyche? No one likes to meddle. In our society, feelings of hopelessness are the result of discombobulated laziness, or in other words, our lack of toughness. Schools should not ignore the issue, especially when considering the fact hospital admissions for suicidal teens have doubled in the last 10 years, with the majority of admittance coming in the fall after the start of the school year. Depression doesn't have boundaries of our society because questions that seem on the brink of too personal can possibly begin the ending of immense suffering within a high school student. The ones you least expect are the ones most likely to follow through with the ultimate mistake, ending the possibility of an impactful future. What schools fail to realize is that stereotypes can no longer be the main cause for consideration. Every kid can become liable to depression. In fact, 3 in 25 kids in every classroom are experiencing some degree of depression. So why is one of the most documented diseases in the United States not addressed as a preventable or treatable issue? Why are the schools not only asking us how many double AP courses we can take and outlining how stressed we have to be for a good college, but outlining the aspects of depression and curiously investigating our mental health? Schools for preparation and cultivating our education so that the world is less difficult, and as most adults should know, if you are not mentally healthy, life bites you harder than that German Shepherd in the 2nd grade. Ignorance is something you cannot pinpoint and stop because you need to be taught and educated. Stupidity and insanity, however, are completely preventable. Why not invest more into mental health programs within the school systems if the teenage suicide rate has increased by 31% in the last 5 years? If education is imperative to success, exams are meant to be aced, extracurriculars are meant to be conquered, socialization meant to be tame and effective, then why is mental health to be shoved aside like the horribly funded drama program?
The school administrators cannot plead ignorance, because the repercussions and consequences derived from constant neglect are far too vast. Dropout rates and future drug abuse are more likely in those who suffer from depression. So for systems that pledge to be drug and alcohol free, they sure are not taking the necessary preventative measures. You cannot diminish what is corroding your own brain. Support from supposed role models and loved ones are extremely irreplaceable for diagnosis and recovery. So why tolerate a system that smashes creativity and promotes mental decay, when the solution is simple? The schools, to put it bluntly, need to invest in our future rather than contribute to the dwindling of our minds.
No, what we should do? Wait, I don't know. I don't remember. But when it's my part, I should just stand up. The school administration. That's like the whole time you're reading, I just go like this. Hey, at the end of after the bloopers, can we please do?
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Tweet me at David Dobrik. Don't forget to check out my podcast views, link in the description. Party out.
Thanks for watching Myra. Make sure you like and subscribe. Tweet me at David Dobrik.
And of course, the most important part, don't eat any of your meat raw.
'Cause you're the last of a dying breed. But our names in the wind.